Today we are going to talk about smart, sustainable, profitable, imaginaries of sustainability of Japanese tech corporations or in their metaverse initiatives. This, as Harald previously said, is part of a larger project on future imaginaries of extended reality in Japan, but more on that later. So, first I'm going to differentiate between a few key concepts. I think some of you might not know what extended reality, for example, actually means. Then after that, I'm going to briefly summarize previous research on that topic and also summarize my key questions. And then I'm going to talk a bit about imaginaries of sustainability as a concept. The main portion of my presentation will be the findings from, I'm sorry, that wasn't on purpose. Will be the findings from two different types of methodological approaches I've been implementing. One is a digital corpora analysis and another one are expert interviews. So now onto the next slide.
この映像は私たちが描く将来像です。要素技術のつながりの一例をデジタル化した大都市に描きました。次世代の通信技術が社会と融合すると、普段の暮らしの中で高度な通信を利用できるようになります。さまざまな情報がリアルタイムに隔たりなくやり取りされ、多様なサービスに活用される世界が広がります。その基盤となっているのがアイオン。高速大容量、低遅延、信頼性の高いこのネットワークを実現するにはさまざまなアクセス技術が必要です。
I actually didn't plan on this clip suddenly starting, but let's go back to that slide. We have seen here a short advertising clip from NTT published only 3 weeks ago. And in this clip, we see technologies of extended reality as a kind of an essential part of a future smart city. And we, of course, also have that nice little reference to sustainability kind of added to everything in the end, but without meaning very much, actually. So extended reality, or XR, is sort of an umbrella term for different kinds of immersive technologies. And depending on the degrees of immersion, we are talking about virtual, mixed, or augmented reality. So you have seen the people in the clip wearing headsets or glasses and seeing computational content. And the key characteristic for these kind of technologies is the merging of physical reality and cyberspace, so that we are sort of in the middle of a progression from the current era of flat computing, like on flat two-dimensional displays and screens, to an era of spatial computing, like computational contents surrounding us in the room around us. Another example for the connection between extended reality and smart city is the so-called Project Plateau by the Japanese Ministry of Landscape, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism. This project has been going on since 2020 and includes more than 350 public and private institutions. As of last year, they had created around a little less than 200 digital twins, 3D models of Japanese cities, more of that to come. And the data sets are also publicly available via their website. You can see the website on the left side, so you can access kind of the digital twin of Tokyo and download various types of data. For example, the building, the transportation systems, but also like sewage and greenery and all different kinds of things. And if we're looking at the use cases for this digital twin technologies, we have two mentions of extended reality here, one in the tourism use case and another one in the public participation use case. So to further differentiate between these concepts, we have here on the right side like the actual buildings, infrastructure and so on, and on the left side we have the digital twins of these these elements, and we can access the digital twin through extended reality by wearing a headset, glasses, or looking through our smartphones. But of course, if we're doing that, we do not want to look only at digital twins, but at all kinds of digital content, more fantastical types of stuff, which I've animated as sort of floating above the digital twin. And these two elements, the digital twins and the more fantastical type of stuff, constitute a so-called metaverse. Going a bit further, with the Japanese media scholar Daikoku Takehiko, we can differentiate here between, on the one side, a weak metaverse. This weak metaverse is strongly tied to physical reality through the digital twin technology, and on the other hand, a strong metaverse which has basically nothing to do with physical reality, and it's like pure fantasy. I don't know why this continues on its own all the time, but it's okay. Makes for a nice pacing. So, speaking of previous research, we have virtual reality-related research in Japan going on since the 1990s for some time, and recently metaverse research came into play, and both of these branches have in common the merging of wholly different types of discourse. We have scholarly and public discourse, of course, given the subject matter, also print and online. We have engineering and business. We have strong philosophical undercurrents, and of course we have also fiction and pop culture sprinkled everywhere in between, most notably in the sci-fi prototyping initiatives by Japanese tech companies. And this kind of calls for the digitally augmented mixed methods approach I have been implementing, but more on that later. Now for my key questions, I am asking in this talk, do Japan's XR and metaverse imaginaries address sustainability issues at all, and in what sense? And also, to what extent is this vision of the metaverse tied to physical reality and its crises? Paul Roquet, who has published the first English monograph on virtual reality in Japan last year, has stated that sustainability is notably absent in Japan's metaverse discourse, but I'm going to look a bit more into the details of that through my analysis. So now to the next slide. My research is based on the concept of imaginaries of sustainability, and if we're talking about imaginaries, we are usually referring to Sheila Jasanoff's concept of sociotechnical imaginaries, which are defined as collectively held, institutionally stabilized, and publicly performed visions of desirable futures, animated by shared understandings of forms of social life and social order, attainable through advances in science and technology. Going from there, imaginaries of sustainability can be defined, with Miller, as a sort of potentially subversive sister concept of these sociotechnical imaginaries. They can be defined as imagined forms of durable social and natural life that can stretch into the future and entail action at multiple dispersed levels of governance. Miller particularly emphasizes here the connection between environmental and social sustainability, and we will see in my talk that social sustainability does come up quite a lot, so sorry for that given the focus of this conference. And also, Adloff has recently introduced 3 types of sustainability imaginaries. One is the modernization imaginary, which is based on the capitalist growth logic of a green economy. As Barbara kind of aptly put it in the beginning, we just buy new sustainable water bottles and feel really good about it, about this kind of sustainable consumption, and this is also very, very prevalent in the tech sector. And quite in contrast to that, we have also sustainability imaginaries of transformation, like thinking once more about all of this and maybe taking a different kind of approach. And we also have imaginaries of control and regulations, which Japan isn't that big on, as we have heard previously. So now to my findings. I have been conducting a digital corpora analysis and my subject area were online press releases via the platform prtimes.jp. And I've been looking at XR-related articles from the past 17 years, so quite a lot of documents of text. And therefore, it made sense to use the digital method of topic modeling, namely the software Topic Explorer, which has been developed at my home university in Halle. And that was also the method I have been using for the Thomas Mann translation, so that's kind of the connection, otherwise it might seem a bit random. And yeah, this kind of software is of course by no means comparable to state-of-the-art, like large language models and so. It's more kind of a narrow, or if you want to call it like that, stupid AI. But that makes the results very traceable for someone like me. So basically, I know what that software is doing. And the main objective of this kind of topic modeling is to identify central themes or topics in a large document, or in this case, press releases collection. I further structured my articles into 8 thematically curated subcorpora, and I did so by using multiple search tags for each subcorpus. So for example, we have one subcorpus on infrastructure. Here I use the search tags digital twin, metaverse, ubiquitous computing, and so on. And this subcorpus consists of nearly 12,000 articles. I really don't know what is going on here. We have, of course, other subcorpora on extended reality, on hardware, and so on. And my question has been if there are different imaginaries depending on the subcorpus. And for that, I have been looking at patterns around terms of interest like SDG, sustainability, and so on. So to come to the findings from my topic modeling, in 7 out of the 8 subcorpora, SDG themes were kind of sprinkled all over the place, and there were no clear patterns to recognize. But in the infrastructure subcorpus, we actually had very clear SDG and sustainability topics, and it was particularly the case for the articles with the metaverse search tag, which were a little more than 4,500 articles. So I'm now going to show you an example configuration of 10 different topics, and out of these topics, 4 contained SDG themes. But in my experience with topic modeling, it doesn't make that much sense to sum up the topics by looking at these word lists. You can see them here, those are the 4 topics. But instead, it's much more reliable to look at the most representative articles for each topic. You can see here a screenshot of the Topic Explorer user interface. You have the topics in the lower portion of the screen. And if you are clicking at one of the topics, for example, topic 2, you have the most representative articles here for topic 2 in that case, represented as slides in the upper part of the screen. You can then click on the slides and look into the articles and see how the topic is represented there. And that makes it possible to do not only a quantitative analysis in the topic modeling, but also incorporate a qualitative analysis. And in this qualitative analysis, I looked at what type of articles do the SDG references occur in, and also if there are any thematic patterns to that. And yes, there are thematic patterns. One which has been kind of annoying was topic number 6, which refers to SDGs being mentioned in individual profiles and self-introductions. We have particularly this guy here. He is the CEO of a Japanese consulting company, JMRI. And he has the self-introduction where he is telling us about how important SDGs were for him during his career. And this kind of self-introduction is added on to every press release from this JMRI company. And this, of course, leads to some sort of quantitative distortion in the analysis. Another maybe more interesting topic, As topic 9, here we have SDG references in tourism and attractions. And one particularly nice example is the company Naked, an extended reality company. And let me get back to that. They have been doing, for example, a Hanami event with digital content. You can see here the kind of holographic flower petals floating above the hands of a person. And interestingly, this SDG-related Hanami event, digital Hanami event, also featured a vegan menu. So there were a lot of things coming together. Even bigger topic was topic number 2, which included articles with references to sustainable business and management practices. Here, for example, we have the extended reality company Styly, which has helped in introducing some sort of drone delivery. But we also have SDG references in company profiles here. Similarly to the self-introductions I mentioned previously, we have here, for example, a company profile of Mitsui Fudosan Group. And of course, in this company profile, they are also telling us how important SDGs are to them. And this company profile is also stuck onto every article mentioning Mitsui Fudosan. So here we have also some sort of quantitative distortion happening. But it's still notable that all these references occurred in a private sector context. Whereas in the next topic, topic number 5, we had SDG references happening in the academic sector, like related to lectures, to conferences, and also to art projects. So there has been sort of a more in-depth reflection going on. And particularly interesting here is the art festival Ringne on the right side, which is envisioning a post-SDG Japanese society. I wonder what that might look like. So, oh, no, we're just in time. So, great. If we are summarizing the findings from the topic modeling, as I said, there were no clear patterns in most of the subcorpora, for example, on XR or also on digital twin, but we have relatively clear SDG and sustainability themes in the metaverse press releases of the infrastructure subcorpus. And here there was a very noticeable difference between public and academic sector mentionings on the one hand, and on the other hand, on SDG references occurring in the private sector. So on the one hand, we have more of a kind of in-depth reflection, and on the other hand, we have this kind of name-dropping of sustainability as a selling point. And of course, the most extreme case of that are the company profiles and self-introductions, which kind of routinely feature SDGs. I found it interesting that the references and articles associated with tourism constitute a different pattern, also different from the other private sector references. It might have to do that the bulk of the private sector references came from like more techie tech companies, whereas the tourism references had a bit of another tone to them, but I would need to look more into that. And of course, as I mentioned, we had the quantitative distortion through the repeated formulaic references, which shows us, in a sense, the sustainability and SDG themes might be some sort of routine, lip service, and more of an afterthought, as we have also seen in the short advertising clip from NTT I showed you in the beginning. So now the slide moving by itself tells me it's time to move on to the expert interviews, which was the other qualitative part of my research. I've been conducting 3 interviews with experts from Japan's extended reality scene, so people from the private sector, which were also my focus. But for comparative purposes, I've also been doing one interview with someone from this aforementioned Project Plateau, with someone from the Ministry of Landscape, Infrastructure and Transport. And as I said, this Project Plateau is mainly digital twin focused, but also incorporates extended reality elements. I have been doing semi-structured interviews in Japanese, which took around 45 to 60 minutes each. So we had a lot of time to go deep into these questions, and I had prepared a mix of open and specific questions, for example, on the personal attitudes of these practitioners, on the degree of techno-optimism they might harbor, on their attitudes towards sustainability, and also on their assessment of the Japanese market and on the specifics of Japanese consumer behavior. So when I was asking them about the degree of SDG and sustainability awareness in their field of work, 2 of the interviews from the private sector told me the awareness was rather neutral, sort of in between, or maybe also chuto-hampa. One interviewee from Sony told me, 若い人とか、それから学歴というのもあるかもしれませんけど、いろいろと勉強してきた人という観点で考えれば、意識は多少高いのかもしれません。This shows us SDGs quite literally as a problem for future generations in the sense that it's conceived of as an issue mostly for the young and educated. Another interviewee from the private sector, from the advertising agency Hakuhodo, told me that they think the general sustainability awareness around them was extremely low, particularly in startups. 日本はそれ SDGs がコアのところではなくて、なんか後から加わったものになっている。だからスタートアップとかになると、そんなアディショナルのものまでやる余裕がない。This shows us quite explicitly sustainability as an optional and foreign addition. I think there was one question before about that, so this also came up here in the interviews. And then, of course, the interviewee from the public sector, from the ministry, told me something completely different, namely sustainability awareness around them being extremely high. Here they referred particularly to participatory use cases. 身近な身の回りの課題をデータを使って解決したいというので、解決ができるんだという気づきをいろんな市民の方に持っていただけるというところが大きな魅力。This shows us, one moment please, this shows us not only that there are different imaginaries for extended reality and digital twin technologies, but also, as is to be expected, for the public and private sector. Moving on from there, the person from the ministry also told me that in their perspective, digital twin technology was more focused on infrastructure, whereas the metaverse and extended reality had a stronger focus on creativity and on content creation. And correspondingly to that, the person from the advertising agency, Hakuhodo, told me the following. スマートというのも都市機能のスマートさ、そのシティに住んでいる人たちのハピネスみたいなものはちょっと置き去りにされているところがある。そこに空間コンピューティング技術を置き入れることができないか。This shows us a private sector metaverse imaginary of the metaverse as a place for more human and softer factors compared to the more functional digital twin. And quite fittingly, 2 of the private sector interviewees also brought up their children and told me a lot about individual flexibility and more autonomous living in a super aging society. So for example, if there's only a gradual cognitive or physical decline happening, people could use like virtual assistants in the metaverse to stay in their own apartments for longer. There was a quite different picture when I was asking about participatory use cases, which seemed to deeply confuse all participants from the private sector extended reality tech corporations. The public sector, the ministry interviewee, wasn't confused at all. They answered, データを使っていろんな人が課題の解決に取り組んでいけるという、そういう民主化と言ったらちょっと大げさなんですけど。This showed us that the participatory use cases were very prominent in the public sector, but the private sector remains committed to top-down consumption. So we have some sort of a sustainability adjacent imaginary in the private sector of kind of individually created pockets of social sustainability, especially on the consumer side, which, however, are still integrated into functional top-down structures which are market-dictated and profit-oriented. So finally, I would like to return to the concepts of weak and strong metaverse. We we remember the weak metaverse is strongly tied to physical reality, whereas the strong metaverse is not. About that, the public sector representative told me that they envision the weak metaverse as a tool for establishing cyber-physical infrastructure. 私たちとしては、そういうインフラとか、その地域とか、現地のコミュニティに最終的に愛着とかにつなげるツールとしてメタバースがある。そういう意味では、やっぱ現実空間とつながっている方が社会的にはプラス。On the other side, the private sector representatives were strongly committed to a strong metaverse, which they envision as a place where new social norms and a whole social transformation in the sense of social sustainability takes place. There was talk about people being completely liberated from their bodies, which sounds kind of creepy, but might be relevant in the context of inclusion. Here we had this talk about Ningen no Shintaisei kara kaiho sarechou. And we also had from the person from the advertising agency the following utterance. 例えば、日常的に何か用事をなすようなことであれば、ウィークメタバースの方がいいですよね。となんだけれども、決定的に何か人生において重要な体験をしたいとか、何かスピリチュアルなことを体験がしたいみたいな時は、ストロングメタバースを選びたい。This shows us, further illustrates the metaverse imaginary of a functional and mundane weak metaverse, like based on digital twins, and the future stronger metaverse as something more utopian and transformative in the sense of social sustainability. So now we are reaching the conclusion and have no further slides to jump to. So we can conclude that the digital corpora analysis and the expert interviews revealed similar tendencies, which can, of course, which I will further look into in more iterations of the interviews and of the corpora analysis. We have rather distinct imaginaries for extended reality, metaverse, and digital twin technologies, and we also have rather pronounced split imaginaries between the public and academic sector on the one hand and the private sector on the other hand. If it comes to the metaverse press releases, we have the academic sector in-depth reflection as opposed to the name dropping in the private sector. And if we're talking about the expert interviews related to the public sector, we have a strong commitment to participatory use cases. And relating to the private sector expert interviews, we have the social transformation, social sustainability kind of postponed to a future strong metaverse. And everything is still happening, of course, inside of top-down consumption structures in a techno-functional smart city and in a weak metaverse. So this kind of shows us that the perceived connection to physical reality really determines the sustainability-related imaginaries, and it also shows us the pervasiveness of these imaginaries which came up in the interviews as well as in the press releases. So this really shows that the mixed method approach is kind of fitting here. So to summarize everything up, we could observe a very, very strong disconnect between the metaverse imaginaries, sustainability-related imaginaries of the public and the private sector, and in that sense also between the imaginaries related to environmental and social sustainability. Rather curiously, everybody seemed to focus on social sustainability, and if I was asking them about environmental sustainability, the person from the public sector told me a little bit more, but basically everyone was like, oh yeah, we have to consider that too, so they weren't really motivated to talk about that. This kind of leads to us having some sustainability-adjacent imaginaries of the metaverse and of extended reality in Japan, but no cohesive or subversive imaginary of sustainability, as I've shown you previously as a concept. So this means that the imaginary of modernization of a green economy largely remains unchallenged, so that so that smart and profitable remain the priorities, and sustainability, such as I have already foreshadowed in the beginning with the NTT clip, is more of an afterthought added to things. So thank you so much for listening despite the little tech mishap, and I'm very much looking forward to our discussion.